Good. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to see everybody out there, even though we're virtual here in our new reality. My name is Dr. Don Lombardi. I teach here at Stevens Institute of Technology. Very fortunate guy. I got several jobs. I'm a professor in the School of Business. I run the Stevens Veterans Program. I'm also a veteran myself, a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And I run a couple of different programs, and the one that we're going to talk about today is the SATMax program. And what I thought I'd do is, we all get a lot of PowerPoint. I would imagine all of you are getting a lot of PowerPoint through Zoom and Edmodo and all the rest. What I want to do is kind of do what we would do in a Stevens classroom. I've replicated it a bit here in the guest room of my house. And we use the Thayer method, which is using progressive analysis and progressive development of concepts. And I'm going to do that for you for about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of give you an overview of the SATMax program and teach you some of the principles that we teach in the business school relative to project management. Then the second thing I'm going to do is actually give you some tips on the SAT. I know that some of you are seniors and juniors in high school, and actually convey some of the tips that we give juniors and seniors when we present the program, which we've been doing now for about 10 years. So let's get started. And what I'd like to start with is what we call the NLB formula. The NLB formula is need, logic, benefit for any kind of project. Now, as it happens with the NLB, with the SATMax program, we identified some needs to begin with. And this formula is very important to look at because this formula basically tells you whether or not a project is worth doing. So as you go into college and consider your collegiate career, you want to get involved with some community service projects. So there was a need always at Stevens. One of the things we've done since, in fact, as part of our charter since 1870, is we prided ourselves on providing community engagement through meaningful programs. And the SATMax is certainly one of those, because the need that we identified is a lot of high school students, okay, need some kind of test prep. And they might be getting into the school, they might not. It might depend on whether or not they have the wherewithal to go to Huntington or Kaplan or some of the other providers. We wanted to provide a free service that was effective. So if I jump down to the benefits, we wanted to make sure that we raised the score of our participants. By the way, we've been very fortunate because the students that have taken SATMax usually go up, okay, between 10 and 150 points after taking the test. In fact, the average is about 50-point improvement. So we wanted to do that. The other need we had was all of our students, whether they're in engineering or science or business or systems, have to be able to be really good communicators, if not teachers. So this was something really to develop student skills. And I think that's very, very important. It's funny, on Expo Day, I just got done reviewing for the past 2 hours several of our senior design projects, and they're extraordinary. And it's basically because our students took the whole idea of making sure that you have a need, making sure that it has logic to it, and that there are benefits. And you want to have 3 to 5 in each one of these. Need is pretty easy, because you know, if you don't have at least 3 needs for a project, you have to ask yourself why you're doing it. So you should be able to come up with 3. For logic, think about it. What are some things that are naturals in the equation that are going to make you successful? Well, logic would be, number 1, we have a high degree of motivation with our Stevens students. Okay, we have a high degree of motivation with the high school students and their parents who might enroll their son or daughter in SATMax. The other part of the logic is a lot of our students do very well, not only on the SAT, but the ACT, which I'll talk about a little bit later in our presentation. By the way, you'll notice with Zoom, thanks to Ms. Franklin helping us out on this, there's a Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. So as I'm going through this, if you have some questions, please put the questions in the Q&A. When we get done, about 20, 25 minutes from now, I'll be sure to answer each and every question that I see in the Q&A file. So get those questions in as we're talking. So we have a certain logical semblance, as you can see, to this project. The other thing that was logical is we had a lot of organizations that could be potential hosts for the program. Asbury Park High School, Hoboken High School, only 7 blocks from our school. Believe it or not, a lot of the healthcare providers. My specialty area is industrial and organizational psychology, particularly as it relates to healthcare management. So we had a lot of hospitals, think about it, logic, right? A lot of these hospitals and healthcare organizations have meeting rooms, have classrooms that they don't use on the weekend, okay? Because they basically have a skeleton staff. That's an unfortunate approbation for a healthcare facility. But they don't have classes on the weekend, so we're able to use them for the SAT Max sessions, which usually run for about 8 hours on the intensive part of the program. The new program, which is going to be online and available to all of you. So you're going to want to send an email to me if you're going to take the SAT to DLOMBAR, number 1, okay, at stevens.edu anytime. And I can make sure that we connect you with the videos that are going to be coming out. So that was another logical thing. Stevens is really known for technology. So we were able to develop a lot of good sources and a lot of good resources for SAT Max. The benefits, I don't even know if I have to write them down. 1, students will raise their scores. 2, our students, a lot of times the benefits are natural results of meeting your needs. Our students' communication skills went up. Our high school students that are our learning partners, all right, all were able to garner the benefit of doing better on the SAT. We had more community engagement. Some of the other benefits that happened were we were able to develop a series, believe it or not, of 38 PowerPoints that students can use to get ready for the test. Another thing we're able to do, a benefit, was we were able to extend out the grasp of SAT Max, and with it, Stevens grasp, to places like Washington, D.C. We have students that come up by bus from Washington, D.C. in the summer. They're called Clark Scholars. And they're able to come up and spend the weekend with us taking SAT Max. This year, with COVID-19 and everything that's going on, we're going to do that virtually. Okay, and by the way, I hope everybody out there is safe and sound. It looks like the numbers are starting to shift and we're getting that downward spike, which we've been waiting and praying for. So that's great to see. So that's NLB. That's the first strategy that I wanted to impart to you guys this afternoon. Now, my field is organizational and industrial psychology. And I teach social psychology, I teach organizational psychology. And psychology is basically more logic than anything else. So let me show you something, again, kind of using the Thayer method of exposition that is practical application, that gives you some class mastery, that gets involved with, learning value, which is what you want to get. And let me take this nice blue pen. And let me tell you, these are called the elements of performance. Now, this is something we look at when we're putting together an SAT Max program, okay? What we do is we look at every student, we look at their motivation. And that basically is, do they want to do this? Then we look at their ability. Can they do this? And then with knowledge, do they know how to do this? So let's take a step back. How many times have you been participating, let's say in a class, and you have students and you say, man, this kid is so smart. They wait to the last minute. They could read the book, be prepared for the test, and get a good grade. If they only had the motivation to go with that, wow, they would get straight A's all the time. Let's say you play a particular sport. So if you look at a kid that has a lot of ability, let's say as a softball pitcher, and she could throw 75 miles an hour, okay? Or a baseball pitcher that could throw like 85 miles an hour. And they have the motivation to want to learn all the time. Boy, that person's going to be a superstar, okay? Because if they have both of these, the motivation and the ability, they're almost naturally going to want to get the knowledge. And they'll be open to learning. They'll be open to developing themselves more. They'll be open to honing their skills. If they don't have the motivation, and I would almost ask you, which of the three, motivation, ability, and knowledge, do you think is the most important, the first one you should look at as a leader, as a teacher, as a supervisor, okay, as the elected official, maybe one of your campus organizations? Motivation is usually the one you want to start with, because if they have the motivation, we can work with whatever ability they have, and we can provide the knowledge. If they don't have the motivation, they're not going to use their ability that much, and they're going to be know-it-alls and not be receptive to the knowledge. And that, in a way, is kind of the worst person you could have in a learning situation. So where it relates to SAT Max is we have kids that come in and they're motivated. They want to go to college. These kids we love to work with because we can take their ability, manifest it through giving them knowledge, ways of taking the test, understanding how to be prepared for the test, and get the level of performance that we want. Okay? If the student has, let's say, a lot of ability, they have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have the motivation to learn more. Unfortunately, if you're a know-it-all, you're just going to be stuck with the knowledge that you have today, May 1st, 2020, forever. Because the mind's like a parachute. It's only going to work when it's open. So that kind of gives you a feel for the way that we look at psychology as it's applied in a work situation. It's definitely one of the tenets. Actually, we start out with it with SATMax, almost as a fail-safe, to make sure that all the students that are in the room are engaged and understand we need this first. You have that, we'll get you these other two, okay? Now, let me talk now. So we taught you the NLB formula, and we've talked about the performance elements, okay? What I'm going to do now, and when I got the great invitation to share this time with you guys, and I really appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully this is going to be useful for you. I said, you know, the number one thing that we always start with SATMax is students hear all of these rumors, all of this fiction about the SAT or the ACT. And you get all these wild things. Hey, I heard if you miss a point, you can never go to college. If you miss a question, you can never go to college. If you give a right answer, you get 2 points. If you give a wrong answer, they deduct 15 points. So these are called, and here's a good SAT word for you. Fictions are called canards. C-A-N-A-R-D-S. It's a good SAT word in of itself. It means something which is deliberately repeated so many times that the perception of it becomes a reality. And people don't realize that indeed it's false, okay? So we see it a lot now, unfortunately, with COVID. You know, if you drink Clorox, you won't get, you know, COVID-19. By the way, that's not true. Never drink Clorox anyway, all right? But I want to dispel some of the fictions for you with facts relative to both the ACT as well as the SAT. Now, I said the ACT, didn't I? Okay. One of the things I hear more and more is, should I take the ACT or the SAT? I heard, as soon as you hear, I heard, it's probably talking about a canard. I heard that the ACT isn't counted as strongly at a good school like Stevens as the SAT. Wrong. Right now, the ACT and the SAT, and I had Professor Flanagan who's tuning in today, and we appreciate him tuning in. We researched last week, they're almost being equally valued by schools nationally. Started out kind of being a West Coast and Midwestern test. Now it's as strong in terms of how it's being reviewed by most schools. Okay, so the ACT, and by the way, we have a new program coming on online. Again, send me an email or tune into the various Stevens links, and we call it Action, A-C-T-I-O-N, because it'll give you some positive action on taking the ACT, okay? The second thing, are these tests make or break? No. These tests are usually the 4th or 5th criteria that are looked at when you apply to college. The first one's going to be probably your GPA. Now, this varies a little bit, all right? These are a little bit general, but they're not specious and not spurious. Your class standing and your grades, those two things, are going to be probably the first thing an admissions counselor is going to look at. The second or third thing, depending if you put the first two together as a fusion. So academic performance in the classroom that's proven would be one. Extracurriculars will be examined, okay? That'll be number two. Community service and things you're doing in addition to your schoolwork will be number three, okay? Your essay that you write will be number four. Getting an interview, and if you have the opportunity to interview with the school that you're interested in, you definitely want to go and take advantage of that. So your interview will be another denominator, okay? The fifth or sixth will be the SAT. The SAT or the ACT, all right? And again, either one are good. Those are going to be more validations of what they see in those first 5 or 6 criteria that I mentioned. So it isn't make or break at all, okay? Let me talk about points. Right now, if you have the wrong answer, okay, it equals 0 points. So this is a major change that took place, I believe, about 3 years ago with the SAT, that you do not get a quarter weight reduction, all right? You get a full weight, okay, positive if you have the right answer. It used to be you would get a quarter weight deduction for the wrong answer. Now you don't get penalized for wrong points. That's on the SAT. So we've seen a little bit of an inflation with scores. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure many of you are going to be asking questions about how they're going to administer the SAT now with COVID. I think they're still figuring it out. This is as of last Tuesday. This past Tuesday, this week, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. They're still looking at how they're going to administer it. But either way they do, don't worry. Take a shot at answering as many questions as you can, okay? Let me tell you about the idea of SuperScore. What that means is if you take the SAT once, then you take it again. Submit both tests. Let's say you take it twice. Submit both tests to the schools of your choice. The reason is they'll look at the highest score, number one. Number two, if you take the test twice, okay, you score classically. And I can tell you over the past 10 years, administering SATMax and tracking this, okay, over many, hundreds of students, if not, we might be over 1,000 at this point. Everybody's score goes up the second time. Now, that leads us to something else. Second time around, great disco song, by the way. Ask your parents, or in my case, your grandparents, or my contemporaries. Second time around. Okay, you don't want me singing, that's for sure. Your score is going to go up. Your score will go up for a real simple reason. Number one, you are familiar with the test. Number two, a lot of the math is going to be more familiar to you your senior year than it will in your junior year, because you're taking Calc 2 or Algebra 2 or Trig or whatever you're taking. So a lot of the math will be more familiar to you. The next thing that happens is usually people are going to be, think about change, think about COVID right now. It's a new experience for everybody. The more people are familiar with something, the more comfortable they are. The more comfortable they are with something, the better they're going to be at it. The more comfortable, the better they're going to be at it, the more competent they are, all right, their performance is going to improve. So you'll do better the second time around. So those are some facts and fact versus fiction for you. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is I spoke to my tutors in preparing for this. Here I am, I'm back. It's me. The last thing I want to show you is I asked my tutors, what are our 3 best tips for actually taking the test? You ready? These are gems, baby. So get ready to make some notes. The first thing, do not take each question point by point. Don't. You have time, you got 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it is for the section. the first thing you want to do is use the stoplight method. The stoplight method means you read question 1, is it a green? A green means you're 70% or better sure that you could answer it. So you want to answer the green ones first. Go through all the questions. Number 1, that's a green. Boom, let me answer it. I know the answer. Number 2, I'm not really sure. Let me go to question number 3. Number 3, I'm still not sure. Boom, go to question 4. Man, I know that answer. It's a green. Answer that. So you do all the greens. Then the next thing you do is you go to, okay, your yellows. Now your yellows, this is supposed to be yellow, and I'm going to use purple. But your yellows, yellow marker doesn't show up. Yellow is about a 50-50 proposition. You're about half sure that you know the answer. So what you want to do is take a shot at that. Because at 50% positive, you're probably in good shape. So take a shot at the yellows, and you do those second. So if you go through this and you've been preparing for the test and you've been staying on the ball with your studies, probably about 40% of the questions, maybe 50%, are going to be greens. 20% or so will be yellows. So you're in pretty good shape, okay? And that only leaves the red light, okay? And again, this is a stoplight method. So the red light means that you're less than 50% sure, okay? And maybe you're about like 20 to 30% sure. Do those last. And you're going to take 2 types of guesses. You're going to take an educated guess, which, hey, it's almost like a borderline yellow-red, you know? So let me take a shot. I think it's this one, all right? A or D. I'll shoot for A. The second kind of guess is a wild guess. Save those for the end and just take a shot. Hey, roll the dice. Dice might come up in your favor, maybe not, but you save those to the end. That is a classic time management technique that I encourage all of you to do. You absolutely should do it, and it's probably one of the best tips that we provide, okay? Now, I want to talk to you next about the text, the reading, and then let's talk about the math for a little bit, and then I'm going to answer each and every question. And by the way, I'll stay until all the Q&As are done, even if we go by 1:30. So stay tuned in. We go up to 2 o'clock, thanks to Ms. Franklin helping us facilitate this, and I'll answer every question that I see in the Q&A, okay? Now the text. With the text, start with the questions. Now this is particularly on the reading section of the SAT. There'll be a text, you read all the entire text, and then it says, question 1, in paragraph 3, the author says that the word canard means an untruth. Or it says the author means, and then it's like multiple choice, an untruth, something which is true, misrepresentation, boom. Okay, so 2 are going to be close. 1 is going to be wildly bad, all right? And 1's kind of going to be in the middle, okay, lukewarm. Reading the whole passage, unless you read very quickly, might not be your best investment in time. Your best investment in time is go directly to the questions. See where the prompt takes you. So it says paragraph 3, read paragraph 3. Maybe skim the passage, depends on your reading ability. If you read quickly and your comprehension is really good, which after all is the name of the game with this, all right, that's great. Other people have focused comprehension, which means they have to be directed to a certain part, okay? The way the questions are, what they're looking for is where your comprehension is on both generally for the whole passage, as well as specific elements of it. So see if you can identify from the questions where the specific elements are. The key word here, and I hope and pray you guys are getting something out of this, but the key word is to play to your strength, play to your comfort level. If you think you're pretty good at deducting immediately what the question is asking, by the way, a great tip, the best investment you can make in SAT or ACT preparation is the time-honored Barron's Guide, all right? Costs like 19 bucks at your local Barnes & Noble. It has all those practice tests in there, as well as a bunch of tips. You get the Barron's Guide, you get in touch with Stevens, and we'll send you some of the PowerPoints. As the YouTube videos come out in the coming weeks and months of the summer, tune into those, the score will go up, I promise you. And this isn't just me talking, this is based on what we've done previously, okay? Now, final thing goes to the math section. And on the math section, Professor Flanagan came up with a great tip, which we've been telling people, okay? Determine what the question is asking on the math. Now, let me break this down 2 ways for you. The first way to break it down is the question asking something about algebra, geometry, or advanced algebra, calculus, trigonometry? So break it down into the 3s. Is it basic algebra, which some of them are? Is it basic geometry? Let's say what you were great at, your sophomore year, you had geometry. Those would all be green lights. So you go to those first. Then you have the advanced ones, which as a junior, you might not be as prepared for as you would be come senior year. So that's another reason why you want to take it twice. So determine right away what the question is asking. And with that in mind, make sure that you have the wherewithal to use a calculator, but don't immediately go to a calculator right away. See if you really use it. Don't get barraged down or bogged down by using a calculator when you don't need it. Okay, so those are some tips I have. I see there's about 20 people tuning in. Now would be the time to go to the bottom of the screen where it says Q&A. And if you have any questions about anything at all, the college admissions process, the SAT, the stuff I covered, whatever you like, now would be the time to fire away, and I'll be happy to answer any and all questions that you have. Okay? And I'm not seeing any pop up, so I guess we did a good job of covering everything. I'll give it another minute or so, and we got about a minute left. Oh, here's one. Okay. And the question is, hey, Dr. Lombardi, Sam Martino. Yes, thank you very much. Sam Martino. Samantha Martino, one of my favorite students of all time. Thanks for tuning in. Sam just pointed out, Sam was a brilliant student at Stevens, and she's now embarked on a postgraduate program in healthcare. And Sam just pointed out that of all these methods, the stoplight method is her personal favorite because she's been able to use it with her grad exams as she applied for her postgraduate programs in healthcare, in medicine. And we've gotten that feedback as well. I think any standardized test that you guys take will augur really well if you use the stoplight method. Okay, so Sam, that's great and wonderful to hear from you. We'll have to Zoom soon. Okay, Kenneth A., what is my email? Hey, Ken, here you go, buddy, and here's everybody. So you have it nice and big, all right? It is small d, L-O-M-B-A-R, number 1 at Stevens.edu. So D-L-O-M-B-A-R, number 1 at Stevens.edu. And for all students who are Stevens students or prospective students, we have a 24/7 policy, which means within 24 hours, 7 days a week, we'll get right back to you. Okay? So I think we're about at 1:30. So I will be available on email anytime you guys need it. There were some great people, Nina and Francis and Sakina, helping us set this up. God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. Know that we're going to get through this quickly, and anytime's a good time to get in touch with us. Okay? Thank you, and take care now. Bye-bye.